أمجد مع واحد المفروض There lived a great queen who ruled for hundreds of years. Her name was Khaldi. She had 3 sons and 1 daughter. One day she called her sons to her chamber and she said to them, "Listen, you know I've lived for hundreds of years, and you know that in no time at all, my time will pass. I've lived a good life, I feel very grateful, but promise me 2 things. The first, that you'll take care of the land, and you'll make sure that no thieves thieve it away in the middle of the night. And the second, that you'll make sure that your only sister finds a suitable suitor. Don't just marry her off to the first man that comes to ask for her hand in marriage, because we know that she's smart and beautiful and comes from royalty." And sure enough, a few days passed, and the great Queen Khadija passed on to the other world. And just as she predicted, many suitors came to ask for her daughter's hand in marriage, but her sons, just as they promised the queen, didn't marry their sister off to just anyone that came to ask for her, until finally a good man came, and she married him and moved with him to the next country. Years passed, and now it was the time for the brothers to go hunting. No sooner had they entered into the forest to start their hunt when they spotted a gazelle, and she was the fairest of gazelles. She looked just like you. Yes, you. Her. Now I'm going to tell you a secret. This gazelle was no ordinary gazelle. She was a princess from the magical world, and she could transform herself at will into a gazelle. Imagine if you had such powers. Now, they didn't know this, but as soon as they spotted her, they wanted to hunt her, and they started to argue who amongst them will hunt her. So the youngest of them, clever Hassan, said to them, "Listen, the first she passes will be the one to hunt her." They agreed, and hearing this, Gazelle had already spotted, because, I'll tell you, a good soul is always standing out. and she saw in Hassan a good spirit, and she decided that he was going to be the man she marries. So when she heard them debating of how or who would hunt her, she immediately jumped in front of Hassan's horse. "Well, you need to go home, brothers," he said to his brothers. "She is mine." And as soon as he said this, Gazelle jumps into the forest and he chases after her. She runs and he chases after her until Gazelle leads him into a country he's never been to before. And it just happens to be the country of his sister, whom he hadn't seen in years. And Gazelle leads him straight to the doorstep of his sister. His sister sees him, recognizes him, they start to embrace and hug, and how long has it been? Years? No, maybe too long. And after they have a wonderful meal and they catch up with all the gossip, his sister asks him, "But tell me, Hassan, who led you here?" "It was Gazelle," he tells her. "Gazelle led me." And so she says to him, "Look, no good can come of this Gazelle. Be careful." So she takes from inside her chest 3 silken threads. And with these 3 threads, she tells Hassan, her brother, these are no ordinary threads, for each one of them has its own magic power. Each one of them comes from my husband, the weaver. And this silken thread is known to weave countries into being. The next morning, they say their goodbyes. He takes the silken threads and he puts them in his pocket, and off he goes, spotting Gazelle waiting for him at the edge of the forest. Again, their chase continues, but this time Gazelle leads him into her own country, a magic garden, very much like this one, hidden away. And as soon as Gazelle enters, she transforms into her princess self, her human self. And of course, as soon as he sees her, he immediately falls in love and understands why he'd been, wanting her so much. They live together for months. And then finally, the king, her father, calls Hassan and says to him, "Look, this is unacceptable. You can't just live like this with my daughter without marriage. But in order for me to agree for you to marry her, you see that mountain shadowing our great kingdom? You need to move that mountain. Whoever moves that mountain will be the one who marries Gazelle." Now Hassan doesn't know what to do. He comes to me and he asks me, "What should I do, Jumana? I don't know how to move a mountain." I tell him, "Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out." And then he remembers that he has the 3 silken threads from his sister. So he takes them out of his pocket and he rubs them. And as soon as he rubs them, 600 hosts of jinn under his command come into being. "What shall we do for you, O master?" "Well, move this mountain." So all night they get to working. The 600 jinn and Hassan and even Gazelle also comes to join and help them because she's in love after all. And all night they get to working, moving the mountain. And just before daybreak, they're able to move that mountain so that her father, the king, is woken up by the great sunlight for the first time entering into their kingdom. And so they marry, and it's a wonderful wedding. I'm sure you all remember it. You were all there. But my story doesn't end here. Do you want to hear more? Or do you want to just be satisfied with this happy ending? So months pass, and they're living happily. But as we said, this isn't the end of our story. Gazelle gets a bit bored, agitated. Remember, she is a wild spirit. She needs to transform into her gazelle self and roll into the wilderness. He understands this as her loving husband, and she comes to him and tells him, "Look, I'm going away for months. Here are all the keys to all the doors in the castle. Feel free to go in and explore behind every door, except for that one on the last floor." And she leaves him in the castle, transforms into her gazelle self, and starts to roam freely in the forest. Now, what do you think Hassan does with all these keys? He opens one door, and yes, he finds behind it some treasure. He opens another door, and okay, he finds behind it some weapons. But then he gets slowly bored and realizes that if Gazelle gave him all the keys, then surely there must be nothing wrong with him finding out what's behind the last door. So he goes up to the last floor, opens the door that she told him not to go, and there he discovers a young man hanging from the ceiling by his hair. He doesn't know this, but this in fact is Gazelle's arch enemy. The man sees Hassan and begs him, please free me, please free me. Hassan thinks no harm can be done and cuts the man loose from the ceiling. And as soon as he does so, the mountain comes again in front of the kingdom. And Gazelle can feel something is wrong. And within a second, a split second, she also returns to the castle, only to discover that her arch-enemy, the evil jinn, has been freed by her own loving husband, Hassan. So they start to fight. Now, Hassan is fighting with the jinn, and they're arguing, and Gazelle is watching him. And while they're arguing, the jinn is boasting, you will never be able to kill me, because my soul is locked away in the kneecap of a tiger that lives in that country. Now Gazelle, she's a clever one. So she asks Hassan to continue fighting the jinn while she goes to find the tiger, where this jinn spirit is living inside his kneecap. And no sooner does she leave them fighting in the castle, does she come across three brothers fighting over three magical objects. She asks them what's the matter, and they explain to her that there's a magical cup which can kill any monster no matter the size. There is a magic carpet which can fly you freely beyond borders and with no need for permits. And there is an invisible cap, and I'm sure you know what an invisible cap has the power to do. So they're fighting over these objects and they don't know which one belongs to whom. So she picks up a stick and she throws it right behind the museum. And she says to them, whoever can get that stick first will be the owner of all these three objects. So they fall for her trap and they go quickly to try and find that stick. Meanwhile, Gazelle wears the invisible cap, gets on the magic carpet, takes the magic stick and flies away. Take me, she says to the carpet, take me to where the tiger lives. And in a split second, without borders, the carpet takes her and lands her to a land she's never been to before, right in front of a small little house where a beautiful little old lady lives. Gazelle is thirsty, so the lady welcomes her to her home and gives her some yogurt to drink. The yogurt is red in color, and Gazelle is very sweet, is very, polite, and she says to her, can I just ask you, why is your yogurt red? Well, the wise woman tells the story of how at every direction there is a monster. In this direction there is a great scorpion. In that direction there is a viper. In this direction a snake, and in that direction a tiger. And our sheep and our men can't roam freely because these monsters rule those territories. So Gazelle vows that she's going to fight all of these vicious monsters. And the next morning she takes her club, and takes the sheep, of course, and she takes them to eat in the land where the scorpion lives. And as they are feeding off the grass, they're happy and so hungry to eat real grass and not the dirt between the houses. The scorpion comes out. Who's been feeding in my pastures? Me, but I'm a stranger and I don't know any better. Well, today you're a stranger, but tomorrow, stay away. The next day, Gazelle returns with the sheep, and the scorpion again comes out. Who's been feeding at my pastures? Well, it's me. I'm a stranger. I don't know any better. Look, you said you were a stranger yesterday, and today you promised you would stay away. So, you're my enemy now. Fight if you can. Gazelle is able to defeat the scorpion, and the sheep continue to graze happily. The next day, the same thing happens for all three directions, so that in every direction where there's a monster living, Gazelle takes the sheep to eat from the grass. And for every direction, the monster comes out, whether it's the viper or the snake, and each time, Gazelle is able to defeat them. With the fourth and last direction, where the tiger lives, Gazelle takes the sheep there to eat, and the tiger comes out and asks, "Who's been feeding here?" And Gazelle says, "It's me, I'm a stranger and I don't know any better." "Well, I don't care for strangers," the tiger roars. "Show me your weapons." And so they start to fight, and the fight goes on for about 70 years. And no one is able to win, neither the tiger or Gazelle. And this beautiful little old woman, remember her who fed Gazelle some yogurt? She starts missing Gazelle and wondering what happened to this girl. I mean, she went to fight the tiger but never came back. So she decides to go and see how the fight is going. And she overhears them as they're fighting, each one of them craving something to eat. They're so hungry and thirsty. And she overhears Gazelle say, "If only I had some fried bread soaked with olive oil and sugar. That would give me the strength I need to kill you once and for all, you vicious tiger. You have a soul locked in your kneecap that I want, and I'm not going to stop till I get it." The woman hears this, immediately rushes back home, bakes the dough, fries it, soaks it with olive oil and sprinkles it with fine sugar, takes it back to Gazelle and gives her the food. And as soon as Gazelle eats this delicious bread, she has the strength again. And with one last blow, she defeats the tiger. She sits on the tiger's belly, by the way, and that's where she has her last bite of the bread. And before she leaves the tiger, she uses the stick to break the knee and take the spirit of the jinn, who's back fighting with her beloved. Hanging on to the jinn, she gets on the carpet and rushes back home, where she finds Hassan still fighting the jinn, and she gives the jinn in her hand, the spirit of the jinn, to Hassan, and there he stamps on him, and this evil jinn dies on the spot. And that, in fact, is the second happy ending to this tale. Now, during the journey of Gazelle, she comes across many natural water sources, and I want to tell you about them. So if you can please follow me up to the Bob's Rock. All of you are located in and around the village of Birzeit, not far in fact from this area where the museum is. You're all haunted by brides. The villagers believe that these were brides who were wanted to marry and were destined to marry, but fell to their death inside the Ain, inside the beer, inside the well, before they got married. And that's why the well and the water source and the spring are haunted by these brides. And it's believed that these brides sometimes they were known to be there sitting by the well, and men of the village of Birzeit, when they spot them, they fall in love. And it's in fact a trap, because these are spirits, they're not real. So be careful when you are near those springs. These days. عين شلزون. عين شلزون, you're also near Bibset, and you are also haunted by a bride. But this bride is also known to transform herself into a gazelle, just like the one in our story. So sometimes, if the villagers are kind, she will grant them water, and the water source is plenty. And sometimes, when the villagers have forsaken her, she too has emptied her waters. And if you go there now, you will find more water. Thank you. عين الفرومي. You are also haunted by a bride who transforms herself into a ram, a hamal al-hawal. And this ram can only be seen on Fridays. And sometimes it's believed that the skin of the ram can be seen floating on the waters of this spring. If you're lucky, you will spot it. عين الستليلة.
Stand up.
You are a bountiful spring. Your area is still full of water, and you are located in Lajun, which is a historic part in Palestine, near the Galilee. And you are haunted by Istidlela, and she is believed to cure people who ask her to cure them. It was believed that if you wanted a wish to come true, you would go to the waters at Ain Istidlela, and you would take some bahur, some incense, and you would light it, and you would leave some food there, and you would ask for your wish. And the Istidlela would make your wish come true. But today, your waters, although they are bountiful, they're not in the hands of the Palestinians anymore. Please sit down. Yes. That's so cute. I love you. What's your name? مروة.
انت حلوة كتير يا مرة. انا طفلة معاكي. انك كنتي لذيذة كتير.
بير ام جدة. Who has بير ام جدة?
ام جدة؟
بير ام جدة. بير ام جدة. Your waters are known to not your waters. You are haunted by spirits that are known to rescue all those who have fallen into the well. This is a well that's known to where many people may fall into, and the spirits there protect the people and save them from falling in. And sometimes it's believed music is heard from the well, like religious music, Adائي. And you're located near Bibset. عين مصيون. طبعا الكل بيعرف يمكن وين عين مصيون. Do you know where عين مصيون is? You are in Ramallah, and you are haunted by an angel. That's all the information I have. عين كيمياء.
عندي.
عين كيمياء. You are haunted by many spirits, but the one that I want to tell you about is the willing Abu Anan.
أبو عنان.
Abu Anan.
Okay.
And he is known to be temperamental. Sometimes he will cure you, especially if you have trouble with your eyes. But sometimes he will poison you. He's mischievous in that way. In fact, I'll tell you a story. There was a man who didn't, want to challenge Willie Abu. So he went to him with his incense and an oil lamp, and he lit it by the Ain, and he called out, "O saint, if you don't bless my field, then I'm not going to bring any more oil lamps and burn incense anymore." The next day, the man came back and found a dead wolf with the oil lamp in his mouth. And many people believe that that was the doing of Abarne. عين الجامع انت في بطير. You are located near Bethlehem. Your waters are plentiful. Still today, bountiful. The fruits, the vegetables, all kind of life form that lives from your waters thrives. Have you been there recently? You should go to see it.
إن شاء الله. على عين كينيا قلت لي وين؟
في كينيا. كينيا. Yes.
Sorry. أنا نسيت.
لا sorry نسيت أحكي لك.
Okay.
Oh sorry. كمان في بثير. You're haunted by a spirit who's believed to carry fuel to Lake Tabariya.
Wow.
عين الجوز. عين الجوز. You are a spirit that transforms. Anything that you want to transform into, of your free will, you can transform into. And you're also a spirit that doesn't need to, you hear me? You're also a spirit that doesn't need to dwell by her waters all the time. So you can also, you're one of the more free spirits that can wander away from the Ain to visit her sisters elsewhere and come back. Thank you. Ain Fawad, you are located east of Jerusalem, and you are haunted by two opposing spirits. One spirit is a slave, and the other is a free man or woman. Thank you. Is there anybody I didn't call out their names to?
ما كان على كرسي شيء.
Oh, so here ends my stories and my performance. I will return now and I will collect the red thread back so it helps me come out of this labyrinth without getting lost. You're welcome to join me if you wish, and if you don't wish, that's also fine.